so far was your biggest challenge to getting to where you are?
I think when I was younger, it was the figuring out what I wanted to do and how to pay for the education I felt like I needed in order to do it.
That's the big one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, I didn't know any Black therapists. And when I decided to get my graduate degree in pastoral counseling, I actually still didn't, by then I was 30, I still didn't know any Black therapists.
Wow.
And so I felt like it was something that was certainly needed, a different perspective, and to be able to offer something to my community. Because what I found out later was that people do tend to like to go to therapy to share their deepest, darkest secrets with someone who's probably connected to them either culturally, racially, by gender, religion, something, right? There has to be
Yeah.
something that they feel like connects them. And so that was it. And so for me, it was finding the money, well, finding the degree that I really wanted to do, because most of my peers who were going into counseling did a counseling degree in social work. And that
Social
did
workers.
not call me.
Yeah.
They're clinical social work. I knew a couple of people that did a psychology degree, and that didn't call me either. But when I found the pastoral counseling program at Loyola, that made sense to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I know. I have a couple brothers who are lawyers, and I know back in the day, there weren't a lot of African American lawyers, and same thing with nurses and things like that. And they found,
Yep.
Unfortunately, we are what we are as people, and we often deal better with people who look like us and act like us and that kind of thing, and we trust people more who are more like us. It's awful. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So,
It's woven into our brains, really, because going back to tribal times, you had to know whether or not you were safe.
yeah,
And sticking with the tribe, right, is what made you safe.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. And you didn't get a second chance back in the day.
No, you did
You
not.
make the wrong mistake once, you're out of the gene pool.
That's right.
So something we have to overcome as a species, not to be like that. There's no Homo erectus or Homo Neanderthal who's going to come around the corner and steal our babies.
That's right.
We can let our guard down a little bit, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. Getting a degree and getting into the system from the very beginning was the hardest part. Huh?
Absolutely. Once I was there, though, it was all good.
Really? Oh, that's great. Well, you chose wisely then, huh?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I did.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, that's when the battle just begins, when you graduate. And then a lot of people stay in school forever or do postdocs, and because the world is scary. But if you position yourself just right, like you did, you're good to go.
Well, I think you also need a little bit of, I don't know what I'm doing. Because I graduated and it immediately opened up a private practice part-time on the side. I had a full-time job. At that time, I was working for a nonprofit counseling kind of agency. And I opened up my private practice as something to do a couple of nights a week, just, on my own. And I was at that time under a more senior therapist, because you still had to get supervision hours, even though you had already graduated and done 1,000 hours. You had to get the other 1,000 hours like out in the real world before you were fully licensed. So I started seeing a few people a week in my private practice. And at that time, I called my practice Larice Counseling Services. And it was always just meant to be this thing I did part-time on the side along whatever job I had.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Make sure your bases are covered, but
That's what
always
I was doing.
you gotta put food on the table, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you're gonna be someone's slave forever if you don't find a way to escape.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Well said.
That's interesting, though. So, is it shadowing, like doctor shadow? Like, are you sitting in sessions with a lead therapist?
Oh,
And
no, you're doing
no,
your own thing, but you have to like document your sessions, how many you've done, get supervision. And so you're talking about your cases. You, of course, have to get consent from your clients, but you're talking about your cases and getting help with like the next steps of, each session and so forth. And that goes on for a little while. And so once you're done, you're done. Then they unleash you into the world.
un, unbind you so you can do some good, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had this image in my mind of like I was a cashier at Walmart for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I just remember the person leaning over my shoulder and pushing buttons and things like
Oh,
that.
yes.
I was kind of envisioning that, but in a therapy session where like you say something, and the person you're shadowing is like, "No, don't say that. What are you doing? You're gonna ruin that person's life. What have you done?"
No, but they do have, so there is a portion of most therapy training programs where you have to video yourself, record yourself in session with clients. And again, you have to get releases of information. And so you have
Right.
to like set up a camera while you're talking to a
Wow.
client. It's so awkward.
I bet. Yeah. You're like trying to not make strange faces or pick your nose or something. While they're
And then they
not
critique
talking to
you in your
Wow.
supervision, group supervision. Well, not critique, but of course, you feel
Yeah.
critiqued. So at that moment, why did you ask that question?
Pick you apart the whole time.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, it sounds like they found a decent way to do it, though.
Yeah.
Training you while not making the patient too weirded out about multiple people in the room.
Indeed.
So that leads me to my next question. How did you pull these people in to begin with? Like, what kind of outreach was it? Like people you knew or internet ads?
Yeah, the internet wasn't even that much a part of the beginnings of my practice. So I started in 2000, 2003. And at that time, we were still doing newspaper ads.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, that's right where we're at when the internet started
Yep.
really just taking off. I doubt there was Craigslist or anything like that. So
Right.
newspaper ads, huh?
Yep. So I had one small ad running in a local paper. And of course, the person that was supervising me, would every now and then refer a client to me. Like maybe her caseload was full. Here, you can see this client. And then the rest of it was word of mouth. I just
Wow.
started talking to people, letting them know I was a therapist, especially in the communities in which I was socializing in. And people started eventually referring people. And so slowly but surely. Now, my very first office, too, I was in a church in Glendale, Maryland. So it's a little town next to or within Greenbelt, Maryland. And they didn't charge rent. So if you
There
saw
you go.
someone pro bono, you didn't even have to pay anything. If the person was paying a fee, then they charged like 3% of whatever that fee was. And it was totally the honor system.
Wow. Trusting fools? No, just kidding.
But it was a great way to start. And I got that space because the person who was supervising me was a member of that particular church. I was a member of a different church. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
So it sounds like you had a pretty good mentor.
Yeah, she was great. She just retired. She reached out to me earlier this year. She was retiring. And so we had a wonderful chat. It was great.
She's sad enough, huh?
Yep, she has.
I don't mean to get too personal or whatever, but is it hard listening to people's problems? Is it draining? Do you get used to it? How does it?
Just, I guess, gotten used to it. It's never felt hard, and probably because I felt like I was called to this work early. So my very first paying job as a teenager, age 15, I was working at the community center in my neighborhood as a peer counselor. So it's like always been this thing. And I was a peer counselor in my high school. So that's where they found me. So I had joined this peer counseling program in high school and was trained there. And then they started a similar program in the neighborhood. And I got hired and worked there, I would say, for 2 years until I went off to college.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got started early, like Mozart.
Yeah.
You're the virtuoso of people's problems.
Yeah. So it's never felt draining. I think the only time it's felt draining, because most people come because they want to change something or other in their life. I've had 1 or 2 clients over the years, which I think is pretty good for 22 years, probably 2 clients that I can think of, that they used therapy just to vent, like just to complain, but would never change anything.
You just want a soundboard to talk against or something. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
But for the most part.
And eventually when I pushed them to do something different, they fired me, and I was fine with that. Totally fine with that.
Yeah. Sounds like you were probably trying to give them an ultimatum, right? It's like I'm not here to just listen to you. I actually want to help people.
Yeah. Almost. Yeah, without saying it quite like that, but yes.
Your secret's safe with me.
Mm-hmm.
No, just kidding. So maybe this is a stupid question then, because it sounds like you've had a lot of success. But has there been anything you've tried that failed miserably as far as like getting new clients and things like that? Or has there always been a pretty steady stream?
Yeah. So generally speaking, it's always been a steady stream. I was a solo therapist for the longest time. Solopreneur, as they call folks. And coming out of the pandemic, I decided, okay, it's probably going to be time for me to turn this into more of a group practice rather than just me all the time. I was burnt out. No, not burnt out. I was exhausted. I think I was, when I came out of the pandemic. I was working a lot of hours. And of course, we weren't going anywhere or doing anything for like a year and a half. But I will say I made a crap ton of money, enough to put a down payment on a house.
There you go.
So the pandemic helped me buy my house. So I will say that.
Yeah. Probably had a flood of people during then.
Yeah. So it's like if your caseload is overflowing and you're not spending any money to go anywhere to do anything, you're gonna save money really quickly. I paid off my car and I bought a house.
Wow.
So
that's great,
that was it. But in the normal years, it's always been a decently steady flow. I went full time in my practice 2013, so 10 years after I started it as a part-time practice. And those first 10 years, I didn't even have a website. Like nothing. It was literally, I'd go to happy hours. People in DC, always one of the first questions they ask is, what do you do? That is a common thing here. And so it always gave me an opportunity to talk about my practice. And so that's how I built it up. And I have often worked with clients in the communities that I'm in, which was one of which was the GLBTQ community, which for a lot of people I learned early on, they got a lot of judgment when they went to therapy.
Oh.
And so they were like, you should actually advertise like within the community. And so I just started talking at events and happy hours and so forth. And that's how I built the base of my practice in those first 10 years. I had a full-time job. Eventually I was working for the federal government in law enforcement. And eventually one day I woke up and realized I didn't need to be there anymore. And so that's when I started to put on a business cap. That was the first time I started thinking about my practice as a business, was 2012. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a couple of years to build up enough clients so that I feel like I'm comfortable to make the leap. And I actually got a business account and went to Weebly at that time. I don't even know if they still exist, but created a landing page for myself and then started letting people know that I was going to be expanding my business. And it took about a year, and I had filled up every time slot, and I couldn't take another client unless I called out for work, that kind of thing.
Wow.
And so that's when I decided to make the leap in end of 2013. And at that time, I started taking one insurance plan, one insurance company. And so for most people, when they think about therapy, it's either you go to therapy and you pay out of pocket, or you use your insurance. And so therefore you have maybe a copay. The first 10 years, since I was so very part-time, I didn't take insurance because I didn't want to do the paperwork that went along with that. And so all of my clients were paying out of pocket. And when I decided to go full-time, I decided to take the most popular insurance at that time here was Blue Cross Blue Shield because of the government. And so that's the one I took. And so that also helped to build my practice, because then that's a referral source within and of itself. Right? And so I then built my practice those next, 2-3 years. I took them for about 10 years until I got out of we got out of the pandemic, and I was like, no more insurance. I'm done.
Like, don't need that anymore.
No. And so with the insurance and talking about my business and clients who felt like they had done good work in therapy, becoming referral sources, that was the second 10 years. Like, I can think about 3 to 5 clients from the time I went full time who actually helped build my practice, because they liked working with me so much, they told their friends. So that's when I started to know or understand the power of referrals. Right. And so we can't necessarily, as therapists, ask for referrals like most businesses can, or get testimonials. But clients will automatically, when their friends say, I need to find a therapist, they're like, oh, I have a great therapist. Let me give you her number. They do this all the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I had about 3 to 5 clients over those years who were really they were almost like marketing geniuses.
That's really
I would
fun.
say, well, who referred you to me? And the same names would come up. I was like, this is amazing. Referrals are great.
Yeah. 0 advertising dollars spent. No, that's true. I mean, word of mouth is really the best way by far. And if you do a good job in whatever it is you're doing, a lot of times people will organically come. Yeah. But it's like I do a little bit of online marketing and consulting and stuff just in my spare time, and you're lucky to get like 1 to 3% conversion rates. It's just because they don't know you don't know them, and there's no relationship built.
That's right.
But you go and talk to someone, I mean, those conversion rates can be like 80%. It sounds like with you, it's like 90% or something. And so, yeah, I mean, that human connection is so important. And so just running ads and things like that has a terrible success rate. But I guess
I learned later.
Trying to advertise.
Yeah, because when I came out of the pandemic and decided to turn it into a group practice and hire, I have one therapist who I brought on, and she is also trained as a psychedelic therapist. And that was really important to me to be able to continue that into the expansion. But I tried the Google ad thing because everywhere I turned to, podcasts or things I was reading about turning a therapy practice into a group practice said Google Ads. The only problem with that is in coming out of the pandemic, and this is the thing that has not worked for me, coming out of the pandemic, we've got an influx in the mental health space of insurance companies and tech companies creating online therapy.
Yeah.
And in doing so, they can throw millions at Google for ad space. So that leaves small practices like me not able to compete. Where I could show up in my local area in like the first top 5 if they weren't there.
Yeah. Interesting. So they just completely drown you out with that insane ad budget, and it's all online. Yeah, there's like BetterHelp, and there's a whole bunch of different ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I know with marketing, how a lot of the stuff works is they try and hit them in like with 5 different angles from 5 different websites, right?
Yes.
And that's really expensive to do as a private practice.
Yes, it is.
I assume. And so like hitting them on Instagram, Google, Facebook, YouTube,
yep,
TV,
yeah.
and then eventually they're like, fine, I'll buy it. Leave me alone. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Because when the whole thing in marketing, a person has to see you at least 7 times before it even registers that they see you.
Wow. Yeah. That you even are a physical person, that you exist outside their subconscious.
Yes.
Yeah. There's really no way to beat the $10 million ad budget. Yeah, it's crazy that they can still make money with that. But the return on ad spend, if it's 1.1, and they're still making money, even though they spent $10 million, they made $11 million. So
absolutely,
it's worth it to them. And
absolutely, and they're doing things like buying small practices. I've started to get messages in my inbox, and other therapists have as well, about valuations, and have I started to think about selling my practice and so forth. Because what at least the insurance, I don't know if the tech companies are doing this, but at least the insurance companies, there's a cap apparently set by the government about how much insurance companies can make off of their members. I don't know how that works exactly, but there's some sort of a cap. They have figured out how they can make more money by this happened first with drugstores, CVS's, the Walgreens, the chains of drugstores. A lot of them are now owned by one of the insurance conglomerates.
Oh no.
Then they started coming for therapy practices. They're probably also doing medical practices, but I don't know for sure. But they're coming for therapy practices so that in that they're owning that practice. They are buying the list of therapists they already have, and in their minds, offering therapy at a cheaper cost, which means they're not going to pay their therapists on staff very well.
Yeah.
And they're making more money that way because there's no limit on that.
Yeah, turn everybody into an employee, whether they like it or not, because they'll just squash you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's messed up. Seems
Yep.
like we need some antitrust laws,
Yeah.
monopoly laws,
So
something
that's what we've been noticing since the pandemic. They
to
have
stop these
really
people.
got their foot in there.
Yeah, those massive corporations, like whether it's real estate or that's crazy that it's in therapy too, though.
Yeah.
Practices. They're like we can make money here, so we're here.
That's right.
That's scary.
Very.
Well, my last question. So as far as like balancing client care and running a business, I know this is kind of a strange question and maybe a little tricky, but like how do you balance that? Like clearly like someone needs help or something, and but maybe you don't have enough time or they don't have any money to pay you or something like that. How do you kind of balance the soul with the business, I guess, for lack of a better
Yeah.
phrase?
So, especially when I was taking insurance, it was common to be full at capacity. And so in those days, it's still in these days too, but in those days especially, I'm always networked with other therapists. And so I know who is an expert in this, who is an expert in that. And so when I would get a person who was not able to fit into my schedule, I could then refer them to one or two of these other therapists that I knew were going to give them quality service. The other piece too is like for people who, and I just did this a couple of weeks ago, a young woman lost her ability to pay for therapy. And so we had a number of sessions, and I did the last session and without the charge. But also in my state, there's pro bono therapy. And
Oh,
so I referred her to that network because I know they'll take good care of her, so to speak, you
that's
know.
great.
And over time, there have been clients that I have seen pro bono. Like if my caseload is mostly full and I feel okay, then I'll take a person financially in a pro bono or a much, much lower cost for them to be able to pay. There are also programs now. I don't know how long this program has been around, but I found it during the pandemic that will help young African American women pay for therapy.
Oh,
And
that's great.
so I got listed on their site, and there are other ones that are for men. There are others that are for kids. So you just kind of have to know where they are, like find them, and then refer those folks to sign up on those sites. And they'll pay for, say, up to 10 therapy sessions or 12 therapy sessions, which is,
Oh, wow.
which is not bad.
Yeah.
So there are things in place to help people get therapy in the short term. And so that's been helpful, I think, in that way. But I think for me, also, because it's in some ways it's about sustainability, right? It's like, yes, as you said early on, we all have to eat.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, if I'm in a good financial space, I'm able to do those things. And so that's
Yeah.
where, to me, manifestation comes into play, because if I'm doing what I need to do for myself spiritually and putting out into the world what I'm called to put out into the world, I'm always going to be taken care of in that regard. So it kind of goes like the monks, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're offering what they need to offer to the world, and they always have faith they're going to eat and be sheltered and have whatever clothes they need,
Yeah.
basically. And in a lot of ways, that's kind of how we can think of it too here. We just have to think of it in higher dollars than they
Yeah.
do.
Right. Right.
um,
Like,
I
you know
think,
you'll be taken care of.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's that. And I also leave time for myself. I think the only time it felt like that was being encroached was during the pandemic year. But normally, like, my energy is taken care of because I make sure I sleep well. I naturally wake up early and I don't see my first client until 10 a.m. So if I'm up by 5, that is my time to have my coffee, get out and do some walking or get on the mat and do yoga. Just think. Sometimes I spend a lot of time in those mornings just thinking and processing and, thinking things through, giving myself time so that when I'm done in the evening at 5 or 6 o'clock, that's usually when I'm spent because my brain starts to shut down because I'm an early riser. I'm not a nighttime person. I can just chill after work,
You've got a good balance.
Yeah. So that's my practice. That's my way of balancing the needs of my client base with my own needs.
Yeah. If you're operating from a state of mind that's scarcity, I guess, scarcity of sleep or food or money or exercise or things like that, you probably should be in the other's chair rather than the therapist chair because you're the one suffering. So you can't help others until you help yourself. Yeah, that's a very Eastern philosophy as well. Like kind of why the monks are always sitting and have their eyes closed and they're looking inward, trying to fix themselves first before they can help others. There's a lot of truth in that. Well, one question I forgot to ask, if you do pro bono work, does that count as like tax credits? Like, can you write that off like as a charitable contribution type thing?
I've never actually done so.
Oh, I don't know, because I don't know, but I know, big corporations, they'll dump, $10 million into some foundation and then that all gets erased with tax credits anyway. So I wonder if
I'll ask my accountant this year. I've never actually thought about that.
Really? Yeah.
Because and for me, I usually only do one client at a time, and that way I'm keeping track of that and so forth. And then I'll always have other clients who are paying a lesser rate because they're coming through one of these other programs.
I see.
But yeah, and I do, and in my area, what I also have found is because I also for a long time had a what do you call it? Not pro bono, a sliding scale.
Right? Oh yeah.
And not based. So not traditional in the sense that it went all the way down to like $25, but definitely significant lower cost especially for younger people. Like when you're 25 and you want to go to therapy, you're probably not making a lot of money yet, right? Even in my area, it's probably 30. You're still not making a lot of money. So I always had this like mini sliding scale. And I'll never forget one client who was paying my full fee. This was her first session and I told her about the sliding scale. She said, I can just pay the full fee. She said, I'm happy to pay the full fee knowing that you are able to offer someone else the lower fee.
Oh, that's so great.
And I was like, wow.
Don't see much of that.
No. And I've remembered it all these years. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really kind of them. Yeah. I think a lot of people, they even if they are wealthy, they wouldn't do that. But what a good person.
Yeah.
You get the spirit of some God in them.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I had for you. Thanks for teaching me about the world of therapy, and I think this would be immensely useful for anybody who's just getting started or is interested in setting up their own practice. Is there anything that you wanted to say that I forgot or interrupted, or did we get it?
I think we get, well, one of the things that I'm doing now is because of the shift in my industry is that I'm now doing new things. So can't use Google ads. Newspaper ads are like dead. And so how do I get in front of new people? And I've been doing things like this, podcasts. Like I started my
there
own
you go.
podcast, and you were on my podcast on the Expansion Room. I'm starting an online community, also with the same name, the Expansion Room. And I'm getting out in front of people more often, which was always my fear. I was the therapist who loved being huddled away in my tiny little office, seeing clients one-on-one. That was my thing. I'm an introvert. But I have learned since coming out of the pandemic that I need to be more out front. So that has also been the shift, a big shift in how I work and how I do things.
Are you doing any TikTok dancing, getting up there? And
no.
Getting around?
You know what's funny? I have resisted TikTok ever since I heard about it in 2020. And the therapist that I hired is on TikTok, right? And so we're planning a women's retreat in October. And so I decided, I'm like, oh, we can heavily advertise on Instagram, Facebook, and through my YouTube channel. She said, oh, what about TikTok? I was like, I do not have TikTok. I'm not doing it. Feel free to do TikTok. Well,
please no. Yeah.
The first 5 people that signed up for the retreat came from TikTok.
No way.
So I have learned a new thing.
Gotta expand your horizons.
Exactly.
For the Expansion Room. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I despise TikTok, but sometimes that's where people are, and
that's it.
And some people like it, and I think it's like a super highway of misinformation as far as, because people are always sending me stuff. They're like, oh, because I do formulation science for supplements, and I do some pharmaceutical stuff as well. And they're like, oh, look at this video about how calcium supplements give you cancer and stuff. And it's like, oh gosh, like it just never ends. It's all these people posting all this nonsense, and you believe it because we're so used to seeing video.
Yeah.
And usually video is true because it's people have gone through all that trouble but with TikTok, they can just crank that machine and all the misinformation just spills out there. But there's a lot of good stuff on there too. So I've heard. I've been trying to avoid it myself, but no, it's I think I may join you and get on there and maybe I'll start dancing or something.
I finally downloaded it to my phone. I haven't signed up yet, but at least it's now on my phone.
You've taken the first step.
I have taken the first step.
You'll get your account going. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you're a little ahead of me, but I think I may fall into it as well. It's just, it is what it is,
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sharon. This has been great.
Thank you.
And I was on your podcast yesterday, so if people want to check that out, it's much more spiritual and less business oriented. So depending on what your state of mind is that day, whether it's scarcity or plenty, you can decide which is the better podcast to attend. But yeah, thank you again, and I'll put a link to your practice down below if you want me to. I don't know, but
yeah, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. Our field just got what they call the compact signed, so that we can actually work across state lines without having to get a separate license in each state.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
They learned from the pandemic that this is not a good way for us to work, just set in one state, because so many people moved during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So they had to give us the right to still see them for a time. And I think it went through sometime in 2021 or 2022. And then we had to, relinquish those clients who have moved. But then the compact came, they started a petition for this compact, and it just came into fruition in August. So we're all going to have to get in like our paperwork for the states that we want to see people in. So yes, you can definitely put it down, because
that's wonderful.
We can now work in other states. So
that's great. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. But yeah, I mean, especially if someone, African American, and they want an African American therapist, sounds like you're not super common. So
yeah,
especially some states. I'm in
Yeah, in
Utah.
some states I'm not.
Yeah.
Not at all. In my area, yes, we are now more common than we used to be 20 years ago. But yeah, in some places, not so much. I mean, I've been to some other states where I don't see a lot of me.
Yeah.
Like when I go to Colorado.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, where I'm in Utah, it's pretty much all, white and Hispanic. So
yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, I'll put that down there. And if people want to check it out, please do. And hey, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.